Lawn care is a fun, fickle, and sometimes very ferocious opponent, and this year, it definitely showed its claws in my neck of the woods. I was buried in snow for so long, it took forever to get the lawn looking the way that I really wanted to. Now, you guys might not remember exactly what it looked like, but it was practically dead on a good portion of it, and I definitely got fed up a time or two. Yeah, there was that. But we had so much water and we had so much snow, and it just kept dragging on and on and on. I mean, I had snow on the lawn well into May, and it just made things super freaking challenging. Now, once the snow melted, I really got a good look at all the damage that was there. We had vole damage, I had damage from deer, I had gophers that came through, I had pot guts, I had all this snow mold, I had just clumps of garbage and dead grass everywhere, and it was probably the worst I have seen my lawn come out of a winter dormancy ever. So just looking in the background at the green, I mean, that thing was freaking smoked down dead. There was so little survivable grass inside that thing, I had to start from the beginning, and this is how it looked. This may seem like an odd place to start, but this is what I was dealing with in April. Once it finally started to melt, I had this great idea, and man, I struggled trying to get this intro. Check this out.
Are you obsessed with your lawn? We're gonna go visit somebody who is. Are you obsessed with your lawn? We're about to go visit somebody who just can't say enough is enough. Are you obsessed with your lawn? Well, we're gonna go visit somebody with a very... Are you obsessed with your lawn? We're going to go visit somebody who is. And I don't know if he... Are you obsessed with your lawn? Having it look the best, having it be a perfect... Shoot. Are you obsessed with your lawn? Wanting it to be perfect, wanting it to be the best? Do you have a dream in mind? We're going to go visit someone today that I don't know if he's ever going to know when to quit. Let's go.
I know it may seem like making videos is pretty easy. It's not. The amount of planning, the time... Things go wrong often, and you don't always nail it on the first take. The amount of time it goes through to edit these things, to get them together, just to have a short 6 or 7 minute video can just totally derail your day. But anyway, the point of this was I couldn't work on my lawn yet, so I had to come up with something clever, which led me doing some interviews, which were pretty fun.
I'm Travis. I have a problem with my yard, and I'm totally okay with this.
The cool thing about getting out there and walking lawns this year and seeing what people were doing, the work they were putting in, it gave me an awful lot of inspiration. It also shows that you're not alone in everything that you're doing, which is kind of nice. It's easy to think that you're crazy, especially with some of the things that go on. But let's jump back, take a look at what I was dealing with here at the very beginning of the year, and then some of the things that I got into along the way. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what's going on here. I think we should probably actually go out and see this from a little bit larger perspective. But this is my dead golf green. I think I almost cried over this thing. Ah, yes. Look at that thing. A vision of beauty. What an absolute mess. Horrible way to start out the year. Completely uninspiring. Just the amount of work I knew that was going to be coming, I honestly didn't want to do it. I was a little bit, pissed, to the point where I almost thought I was going to just rip that thing out. I was so disappointed in the way everything looked when it came out in the springtime. One of the most important things about having a lawn is tending to it properly. It's feeding it regularly. It's making sure that you're driving roots and not just forcing top growth all the time. This lawn is beautiful on low amounts of... Yeah, well, it doesn't look good right now, or then, I should say, because this is what it came out looking like in the springtime, and I hadn't had time to work some magic. I know, that was a pretty neat trick, right? I probably couldn't do it again, I don't think. Do you think? Let's see. Okay, that's enough feeling sorry for myself. Gotta get to work. First things first, let's work on the irrigation. All right, guys, today's the day. I am installing the Irrigreen system right here on the golf green. Now, if you don't know what that is, there are links in the description below for you to follow, and you can find out a bit more. You can go in and see how many heads you need, you can design your system, you can do the whole thing. I jumped on board with Irrigreen this year because I liked the messaging, I liked the idea. I wanted to be able to water my lawn without waste, and that's what I did. So that was the first and most important piece, was getting the new irrigation put in and start watering so I could put seed up and get the grass growing again on the golf green, because it was in such bad shape, the whole thing needed to be reseeded in order to come back in. This little install section right here, I actually didn't put into my initial install video because I totally screwed it up. Glue got stuck in the 90 and I couldn't get it to line up where it needed to be on the swing arm. So there you go, behind the scenes. Oh, and then this is when I actually did it correctly. I just kicked the valve on to find out if I have any leaks, and I don't. It's a good feeling. Flying. All right, so I got to do something about this wire. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount the, where are you going? Come back. Overall, doing this install was pretty dang easy. I mean, I think I took about a day or two to actually do it, just because weather got in the way and slowed me down. But I retrofitted this to my old system, and it wasn't that big of a deal. So knocking out the valves so that they don't feed the old system, cutting out the pipe where I needed to, and just placing the new sprinkler heads so that they would reach everything on the green, that was really all I needed to do. And overall, the water distribution was fantastic. I had no problems with this system at all. It was kind of a godsend. I wasn't throwing water out over the rock walls and wasting all over the place. And I know for a fact I cut way down on my water usage this year. And we still had that super hot, dry, late June, July like we normally do. And I just didn't use up the water like I have done in the past. Okay, I'm gonna just square up that head real quick, and then we're gonna set the shape. It's calibrating. I don't know what that means. I thought maybe it was gonna come out. While you wait, you can enjoy a cup of coffee. Oh, something's happening. Hello. You know, this place just looked absolutely horrendous at the beginning of the year, and it took major rehab to get this thing cleaned up, and I'm going to get into that now, like the steps that were taken in order to get it flushed back up to where it needed to be. And then we'll talk about the easy flow after that, because that was all part of my whole process in getting this place more automatic and whipped into shape. All right, y'all, before I show you what's in here, I want to just talk about a couple things real quick. I bought them over for around $100. Before I show you what's in here, I want to talk to you a little bit about why I'm doing this here. There's an awful lot of gas mowers that are just going to be discarded over the next little while. People are switching to battery, and there's a lot of great mowers out there, and they're selling really cheap. Now, this one I paid about $100 for. It's maybe 3 or 4 years old. When it came out, it was probably around 500, maybe 550 bucks. And here is the deal. It will fire with the use of like carburetor cleaner. You can get it started, but it won't keep running. So I have purchased everything I need to just go ahead and do all the maintenance on it. New spark plug, new air filter, oil. We're gonna swap the gas out, and likely it's a carburetor problem. That's what this is gonna be, and more than likely there's gunk in the carburetor. So I'm just gonna take everything down. Hopefully I don't need to get a new carburetor. We'll go through all the steps here and hopefully get this thing running today. That's the plan. Wish me luck. It was remarkably refreshing having a gas mower. It'd been years since I'd had one. I had that Toro battery-powered mower, and that thing was a piece of crap. It seemed to work well in the beginning, but it just didn't cut the way that somebody who really wants a good clean cut would be happy with. So I'm gonna make an opinion here, and nobody has to agree with me, but this is where I stand now at the end of 2023. I feel like we've gone overboard with electric lawn equipment. I like a gas mower. I think the energy usage on this gas mower was less than what I was doing with my electric. It cuts way better, cleans way better. Not a whole lot has to be done with it in order to keep it running. I think that the two best materials that are really suited for electric operation are the string trimmer, just because it fires right up, and those things can be a bit of a burden to get started when they're the gas versions, and backpack sprayers. That's really it. Everything else, give me gas, baby. I would rather have the gas, and now I'm going to go on a movement to bring back the gas. So, well, maybe you don't agree with me, but that's how I feel about it. Here we are now in the middle of May, and the lawn was actually starting to come along pretty well. It had only had one small feeding to wake it up. I hadn't done any irrigating up on the upper lawn. I was only doing it down on the green because I was trying to get the seed to take and come back. But here we are, coming out of April. The snow is pretty much gone from all over the property, and it was starting to look better. It was then that I started working on all these bare spots to try to fill them in, and I did use the Turfman material that Jeff sent me, and I love it. Everything came in so great, and you'll see as the year goes on and progresses through the video how well it actually did and how quickly it filled in. But I will still stand behind this material. I use it on the green, I use it on my lawn if I need it, but I also completely reseeded my green with it, and let's take a look at what happened there. Again, I think one of the most fun things about shooting videos is that stuff doesn't always turn out the way that you think it's going to. You don't always hit it in one take. You don't always get things done right. Sometimes you reshoot. Sometimes you have to come back another day and do it. And mistakes happen. Now, this patch of grass right here, that material I'm putting out there is some granulated RGS that we had, and I was just playing around with it to see how it spread. But this little section of lawn got a lot of abuse this year, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But in the case of outtakes, here's a good one for you. You want a beautiful lawn, right? Everybody wants a beautiful lawn. You want a lawn that you can be proud of, that you can play on, that's just enjoyable, and it makes you feel good. So I'm gonna take you through the A to Z's on how to have a beautiful lawn. So today I'm going to take you through the A to Z's on how to have a beautiful lawn. And honestly, within a week or so, I started to get a little bit of germination, and I was able to cut some of the grass that was coming back in. And it started to work. It was starting to fill in. The grass was doing what it was supposed to. But again, it just stunk to have to start it so late and then try to get the thing growing. Seeding in the springtime is complicated, but you can do it. So this was really the first mow on the green and getting that thing up and running. Again, love that Hudson Star. Second season with that thing, absolutely freaking love it. Can't recommend it enough. So if you're gonna do shortcut grass and you want something that's just man-powered rather than battery or gas, this is the answer to that. The rest of the areas where I'd done patch filling were coming in really nice. It was all starting to come together and the lawn was finally starting to even out, but this was now pushing into about May 21st, and it just takes time, and sometimes I am impatient. But then we moved into weed control and clearing things out, and I have a better idea of what I want to do next year to keep my ground clear, but we'll talk about that in the springtime. I had a lot of success with the different items that I did use, and while stuff did come back, it wasn't as bad as prior years.
So it's springtime, and actually it's getting close to Memorial Day, which for most people, that is the big kickoff to summer. It's the time when people really do start getting out on their lawns and spending more time outside. That's definitely coming up here, and I'm looking around at my lawn today, just trying to get a good feel for it, seeing what's happening up here, seeing if it's time for me to start feeding.
The short answer, not yet. Nope. I'd already gone through most of May. I still hadn't fed anything to the lawn, and it was just hanging out and cruising along like you would expect a spring lawn to do. It looked so good, it was coming in thick, it was recovering quickly, and I wanted to see how long I could hold out and really just see how lean I could make this whole thing. So, the only fertilizer that went out was out on the golf green, and the golf green was coming in. This was 28 days after seeding, and I was so happy with the way that it was coming in, but it still had a long way to go, and it was a struggle all year. The golf green did not perform as well as it could have, and mainly that's just because I started late with it. I had to start from scratch, I had to reseed, I had to just bring it all back. So I hope it's going to come back way better this year, but I did already make the same mistake. I didn't get my fungicide out. Urgh. There is still a possibility that I can fix that. It looks like the snow's melting off a bit, but I digress. There's still going to be some issues.
Ooh, hear that? It's all foamed up. See, there's no more liquid sound. She's alive. She's alive and she's trying to escape.
Now this was something I did do as an experiment that I wanted to show you guys this year. I put out dethatch at the very end of May, which might have been a little bit early, and I used this as a test plot. Now, as we go through this summer, you're gonna see the difference in the way the debris that was built up in the lawn was coming off, and this was that initial application. I honestly don't remember if I made a video about this or not, but this was that day. It was around May 30th, right before I got into my fertilizer injector, and we started to switch into June.
That much overspray is ridiculous, and you can see it all on the rock walls, how far these things are throwing right now, which is silly. Now, in what I kind of came to last year was that I didn't need to run this station at all, actually. I would only do the edges and throw back and forth, and it held up pretty well. But now I'm kind of wondering what would happen if I only ran this station this year up here and just ran the crap out of it, because it would need to run a lot in order to get, like I said, any significant water. Which would basically mean I'd be running MP rotors on this section, and then down in the main body, like I said, nothing but the irrigreen. All right, everybody, today is the day we are going to be installing this guy. Now, this might look different than some of the other ones that you may have seen. This is the 1 gallon Easy Flow, and a lot of the time this one's marketed to either low PSI systems like this one. This is only 65 PSI. This is good to 80 PSI. Or putting it on single stations. But we're going to put this on my system. I'm going to be dropping it right down here into this valve box that I've already put in preparation for doing this. And I'm going to show you just how quick this thing goes together, how easy it is to use, and how more people should be fertilizing their lawn with one of these.
For irrigated lawns, I don't understand why this isn't a more widely adopted system. It's very inexpensive, it's very easy to use, it works so incredibly well, and it's super flexible. I mean, coupled with my irrigreen system, I'm able to basically dial in exactly what I want for fertilizer in any section of the lawn. So I might do 16 or 18 ounces of a liquid and just do a couple rotations on a sprinkler and get my feeding out that way. Or maybe I'm going to fill the whole tank up with concentrate and let it run at a lower rate so it feeds over a longer time over everything. The point is, you can really dial in your nutrition to whatever you need it to be, and you never have to pull a hose, you never have to take a backpack sprayer out or do anything like that, which some people really love to do. Now, the couple of things that I did notice about this as I went through the year is that if I ran it at a very heavy rate through the era greens, I could see tracking on the lawn, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as we get in towards the end of the summer. But overall, the nutrition delivery and the water delivery worked so incredibly well, I found myself not doing as much or even spending as much time on the lawn, which now looking back, I didn't really enjoy that much. So I accomplished the goal of having this fully automated system with running a robo mower, with running fertigation, with running smart sprinklers, and it basically took me out of a job. Very, very weird feeling.
I have to say all this is pretty dang cool. It's Monday morning before the 4th of July, and everything's out here doing all the work. Maybe I'm gonna have to come out here and touch it up at the edging. It's pretty neat. If there was one thing that I was always super consistent about in my lawn care, it was getting those biostims out on a regular basis. And that's why my lawn always looked so freaking dark green all the time. It never seemed like it was under stress. It just kind of cruised through the droughts, the heat, the bad weather, all of that kind of stuff. But I've been off of it. And the reason that I did that is I had a few people over the last couple of years that have told me that, like, you know, we were running the program, and then we stopped, and then our lawn went to crap, and then we got back on it and fixed it. And I felt like that was overstating. And I got to be honest, this is the first time that I've ever done this, and I am not liking it. I am not liking what's happening out here, period. So it's time to get back on my regularly scheduled program of getting my biostims out and feeding this thing like it should. It just doesn't look great. It's thick, but it's stressing. And I would probably even step out on a limb here and say that because this area hasn't looked good, I've run this sprinkler more just to try to make up for the difference, because it seems to be drying out faster, and it seems to be having other issues that it just hasn't had in the past. So it's getting plenty of water. The moisture is down deep. The grass just doesn't look good. It's just not holding up.
This to me is what true neglect looked like on my own lawn. I hadn't put anything out here to make a difference for nutrition or anything else. I was just letting it run and letting it run. So I was already like 10 weeks after the snow had truly come off of these sections of the lawn. The lawn had been greening up, it had been recovering, it had gone through its spring flush. And the only place that was really getting any nutrition was the golf green, because I was still growing it in. So now I have this depleted lawn coming into the end of the June, and now I'm going to have July's heat banking down on it. It's going to be a real problem. So things had to change. And I see this a lot for DIYers more than anything else, is that they either go too heavy too early and the lawn runs out of gas, or they just don't do anything. And that's really what we were seeing here. So in that day, I ran some biostims through, and then I ended up putting some green charge through the system. But at this point, coming into July, about to hit July 1, this had only had a 1/4 pound of nitrogen applied, and that was on June 22nd.
What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of the Irrigreen Smart Sprinkler System.
Watering and wasteful watering is very important to me. I have always tried to be as low as possible, again, to maintain like healthy turf, but not to overdo it. I have polymers in the lawn, I have the smart sprinkler system. I'm doing everything I can to lower my water usage, and this system took it to the next level.
If you can see it, there's water getting into the rocks because I can't quite get that perfect angled shape coming out. We're getting all over the trampoline over here. But this would be sort of consistent. Now, that trampoline really screws things up. Okay, don't get me wrong. That's probably not the best thing to put in the middle of a yard. It would have been better if it was like mulched and I didn't do grass behind it, but this, I do what I want. So that's what you would get traditionally. Now that's gonna shut off, and then I'll kick on the station just above it that runs the upper area. And again, this was the most efficient way that I could put this together, okay? So now here comes our upper trampoline area with some MP rotors on it. This is a good and standard double coverage sprinkler setup. They're covering everywhere they need to be. If my other sprinklers were still hooked up here, it would be watering right along this line. But you can see how much crossover they're going to have, and there'll be areas in the middle that are going to get twice as much water as edges. No matter what we do, that's just the way it is. The patterns are going to make that huge overlap. So just with what's watering onto the trampoline now, we could figure how many gallons that might be in the course of a year, but all that's doing is watering the weeds underneath it. This alone, when you start thinking about where you have head placement, where sidewalks are, driveways, you know, anything that could be like an odd shape where your sprinklers are running over, this is really where these irrigreens shine.
It was at this point that I came back to show the difference between what I did with the dethatch and just to see what we were getting off the lawn. And this was really fun. It was interesting to see how much was coming out using my little Sunjoe dethatcher, just coming back and forth across the lawn so we could really see a difference. And there was a major, major difference in the amount of material that was coming off of the untreated portion versus the treated portion. So, fun little experiment. And then when I was digging around and pulling the roots and looking at everything, you could actually see the polymers that I was speaking about earlier that help with holding more moisture down in the ground. They're still active and they're still doing what they need to be doing. But it was this video that really showed just where I'm walking right now, how little debris is coming out, and then the second I cross over that line, it starts to pull more and more clumps out, and it was a huge difference between debris.
See that, guys? These are the polymers I put down into the soil early on. This is one of the things that helps hold moisture in the soil, so I don't actually have to water as much. That's what those things are right there. You can see how the roots kind of grow through them and grab them. It's pretty neat. Okay, so what are we learning out here today? A few different things. Number one, we're seeing a much better root structure. That's pretty awesome. We're seeing, you know, from what we can tell, this isn't a lab, it's a lawn. A little reduction in the thatch, the overall thatch layer that's in the turf, but a considerably different looking root system. Very, very different looking root system. We're seeing a lot more debris coming from one side versus the other side. So maybe we're not getting as much cycling out of these clippings, or is it because the material that's being applied is doing other things to the plant to make it stronger, so that we're not having issues on this side? So here's the thing. If you are going to get in there and comment and, you know, doubt or do anything like that, it's totally fine. I welcome that. But here's the problem that I see for many people out there. In one way or the other, you're going to prove that something happened. Right? It either is digesting the thatch or it's making the turf healthier. And for a lot of people, they have a hard time admitting that some of the stuff that I do makes turf healthier. So which is it?
July was interesting for me. I did a lot of different things, a lot of different tests. I, again, leaned out the lawn because we were working on a granular and I wanted to wait and see what we could get out of it to really test that material and really put it down at a bunch of different rates and see how it responded on a lawn that didn't have a whole lot going for it. So I pretty much stopped feeding everything on the top end behind the garage in early July and started to do small amounts on the main body of the lawn, which still wasn't very much. Now at this point, I think I was up to about a half a pound of N maybe for the year, and it was looking really, really good, especially with all of the heat and with everything I was doing with the new sprinkler system.
See this? This is sugar. See this? This is sugar. Not any of that frou-frou sugar. Not sugar in the raw, not brown sugar, not unbleached, whatever. This is the cheapest, crappiest sugar, if there is such a thing, that I could find in my local grocery store. This is 4 pounds. I suppose you're wondering what that has to do with the lawn or that tape measure that's laying out there behind me. Well, I'm gonna tell you. I read this article. I'm gonna share with you a little bit about it, and it made me think, what the heck? Let's give it a shot. Okay, so let's talk about what could happen, what might happen, what probably will happen, okay? In crop production, multiple sugars have been tested, especially on like soybeans, corn, and things like that. There isn't really a statistical difference between types of sugar, and that even includes molasses, as far as increasing crop productivity. There are bumps that always happens with adding some sugars to crops, minimal amount, but at this rate that I applied, it's nowhere near that application. Whoever came up with this turf application rate, I really don't know. I don't know. And there are some sort of anecdotal things about where people have put a bunch of sugar down, say, on top of weeds and things like that, and what it ends up doing is starving it out. And then there's the flip side that says, well, if you make your soil healthier, this will also help as sort of a weed control. Like, none of that really works for me in my brain. Yes, having healthier grass, in general, thicker turf, you're not really going to see weeds. That's just the way that works. So if it's going to increase the total density of the plant population, cool. But again, it's not a fertilizer. What's ultimately going to happen here is the sugar is going to stimulate some bacteria. Those bacteria are also stimulated by nitrogen. And there's a number of other things you can do to kind of get things moving in the soil. And given this rate, it's entirely possible that this is going to rob nitrogen from the plant. And we're going to see the grass turn yellow, not turn green. That's entirely possible. So where I'm standing with it right now is there's 3 ways that this could go based on that app rate. And it's like this. It's either going to rob nutrition from the soil because of this carbon material. Like, if you put too much biochar down, it's just going to suck nitrogen and it's going to kind of starve out the area. So that's a possibility for a short time. It'll come back. So there's 1, it could kind of yellow the grass. 2, there could be just no visible change whatsoever. It's probably in the higher than 50% likelihood out of these 3. Third, we could see a green strip show up because there's enough nitrogen in the soil, there's enough stimulation happening that we kind of move that up and release maybe a little bit more. That's possible. So this is going to be interesting, or a waste of time, or a waste of money. And I drink my coffee black. Yeah. Let's come back out later and check it out.
Well, I hate to spoil it, but nothing happened. Well, that was pretty predictable. It was just something to do, I guess. And since I don't really have a whole lot of sugar going anywhere else in my house, at least I could throw it out on the lawn. Anyway, we were moving into the middle of July, and actually things were looking pretty fantastic. It was hot, it was dry, The sprinkler system was really only running about twice a week, and I actually had to modify it down because the volume of water that was hitting and the way that it was watering, I was getting some mushrooms in the lawn. So I did a couple of changes to make sure that I was doing the proper amount of water, and that worked really well. The green was doing extremely well by this point. It was getting cut down, not quite to 1/10 of an inch, a little bit over that, probably around 1/8 of an inch, and the main lawn was just getting mowed with the Husqvarna going at about 1.5 inches is where I kept it most of the year. So there was a lot going on, a lot of changes, and a lot of preparation for the new material that was going to be coming up. Here's a big one. Drought tolerance is huge. A healthier soil profile with more life and higher organic matter is going to hold more water. That moisture is going to be vital to your plants during times of stress. That's one reason to be thinking about your soil more often. Number 2, healthier soil, more organic soil, soil that has life in it, is less likely to need aeration. It's less likely to need dethatching. It's going to have a good balance of life that's working with you. 3, with that increase in organic matter and healthier soil profiles, you get free nitrogen. As things decompose in the ground, small amounts every year, a small bit of your humus, your organic matter, 3 to 5% of it is going to break down into nitrogen. Now, the thing that you need to sort of realize about soil health and soil life is you can have terrible looking turf and your soil life could be off the charts. I just love the way that sounds.
There we go. Had to fry it out. Don't do that. Because then it turns into this. Okay, I'll go do it over here.
Well, then I thought, what a better time when it's hot and dry than to just go ahead and scalp the collars of the green, take it down to nothing, just destroy it, and see how long I could take it to come back. It had gotten so overgrown, and I'm going to tell you right now, big plans for next year. I am cutting out that collar, and I'm going to put bluegrass in around the whole fringe of it because I think it'll look way, way better. So I'm going to give that thing a little bit more definition. But what a dumb, dumb thing to do in July. And that was it for July. Kept everything just cruising along, and I went out of town for 3 weeks, and all of a sudden, it was mid-August. Nothing like coming home from vacation and just seeing everything that you work for just look like crap. Well, actually, the grass looked pretty good. It was holding up well, it just needed to be cut, and the mower had some issues while it was gone, so it was a little bit long. That wasn't a big deal to get taken care of, but then it was going around and cleaning up the flower beds and killing all the thistles and doing all the things that needed to be done in order to get it looking good again. And then I had a visitor. So Jeff Stahman popped out to visit me. We went and saw some golf courses and some different areas that are using Turfman products and did a little tutorial just in my own lawn where there'd been like some vole damage or some deer had been chewing down, just so we could show how easy the material is to use. As you saw in the beginning of this video, I had tremendous success with it. I love it. I use it on my green all the time, and in the springtime, I will use it again up in my lawn. Now, the one thing that I've done that may be different than what other people do is I typically just use the rye mix for patching. I let my bluegrass choke it back out, and that works just fine. That may not be the best choice for a lot of other people, but that really works well for me, and it just comes in well and thick, and the material is just very consistent. And that leads us into the thing that was making people very excited this year. Let's talk a little bit about the granular. Look how good that turf looks. You guys, this is the end of August, and I had been starving this lawn out. I have not yet hit a pound of nitrogen on the lawn for the season, and it just was holding so incredibly well. I still think I was around 3/4, maybe, of a pound per 1,000 square feet for the year, and it was just kicking ass. A Green County granular product is something that I've wanted to have for a long time. It fills a major market need, and since we produce our own humic, we have this material that's reacted and really breaks down well, gets down into the soil, and has just a ton of agronomic value. So this first prototype material was a 16-2-3 ammonium sulfate, diammonium phosphate, and sulfate of potash. And then we had about 15% of the material was our reacted humates, which are going to honestly help hold a lot of water, help the soil structure, help chelate some more minerals, help to actually just get a better, healthier application of fertilizer down. So we're hoping to get this material out sometime by the summer of 2024, but I'm not rushing it until it is absolutely the way that it needs to be and it's ready for everybody to use. What's up, everybody? 2 weeks ago, I fed this with a 1/4 pound of liquid through my fertigation tank. It was pretty depleted. It hadn't been fed since June, and now look at it. But I'm only going to be showing you this for a second because today is all about something else. Right here, where you can't see yet, I did something totally different, and I want to show you what that was, with the intent to release it in 2024. Now, what I'm doing out here right now is I split this back section of the lawn in half, 500 square feet on either side. I put a 1/2 pound of N down on one side, put a full pound down on the other side. So, this is how it sort of responded over the course of 7 days. The changes were there, they were starting to make outlines, and the grass was getting healthier because, like I said before, this was depleted, and I made sure to intentionally starve it so we could get the best look. Now, here's what I want to show you today.
I want to show you how the two plots look, but also give you an idea from what's happening behind me. This was done August 21st. The other section over here was done August 26th. So the grass behind me has had a little bit more time with the liquid than the granular side. And over the course of the next few weeks, we're just going to keep coming back out here and seeing how this all looks. But I just want to show you a couple of things. So let's look down the line this way. You can very clearly see this rectangle right here. And then it's kind of yellow, and then it's dark green again, and then it's dry in the background, right? So the areas where it's kind of yellow has had nothing. That's like a control site. This area has had a ½ pound. This area has had a full pound. And back there, only 1/3 pound. Now what I was noticing and what I wanted to see was how long was this going to hold color? So basically putting it down when it was still really hot and it was pretty dry, just letting this do what it was supposed to do. Took about 7 days before it started to really show up. And here we are 6 weeks later here, 7 weeks later over there. ½ pound, full pound, 1/4 pound. So the liquids hold up extremely well. We all know that. This is a non-treated nitrogen. It's on this section, aside from the humic carrier that we're putting around it. For the last 5 weeks, I've been doing some tests out here with different nitrogen rates, also with different materials that I'm going to be sharing soon in an upcoming video. But you can see the lawn's looking pretty good, and I want to talk about why, but the hell. Damn dogs, man. You know, they're always up to something. It's either dog spots or just crap laying around.
It's these little pause moments that really make me laugh when I'm trying to make videos, when I'm trying to collect my thoughts.
So look, it is legit the first day of fall out here. We actually had our first snowfall way back up there in the background. You can see it just up on the high mountains at about 10,000 feet. It dusted the whole place. So we're in that sort of second spring time that us cool season folks get. And that's when your grass is gonna grow again, similar to spring, but without that vigor. It just is a really good time to send some more roots down and for the grass to store up energy for the spring. So some might say this is the most important feeding of the year. And in a way, I agree. We can store up some nitrogen in the soil because the temperatures are coming down, and it's gonna be ready for when the grass just wakes up, lights up, and just turns green really super fast in the springtime.
And then that was it. The last video I shot was September 22nd, and I didn't do another one since. I didn't finish up with any sort of wintertime thing. I found some old footage and put a video out, but that was it for my lawn year. It did not last very long. So I want to leave you with a few comments about how I felt the year went. First of all, it was very different. It started way later than normal. I did a lot of different things with the way my fertility program worked. I did less than 1 pound of nitrogen over the main body of the lawn for the year. I did about 1.5 pounds on the green. The areas up behind the house ended up with quite a bit more because of the granular, and we're gonna see how that looks in the springtime. But before the snow came down, there were still very dark defined lines where that material had gone down 10 or 12 weeks earlier. Now, the couple of things that I am considering and looking into for 2024 is this. I feel like I didn't spend enough time on the lawn. I felt like I made it too easy, and that made me a little lazy. It made me not want to go pick weeds out of flower beds. It made me not spend time on the lawn. My family and I, before this year, spent more time in that backyard than any other place on our property, and it totally got neglected this year. So I went on the quest for fully automatic lawn care, and now I need to take a step back because I need to be up on my lawn and I need to be out there working on it and I need to be getting the sun, and also I got really fat this year. So a lot of things have to change. Now, I made a comment earlier about battery-powered equipment as well. There's a lot of things that I just don't think need to be battery-powered, and I am going to push back towards the gas side for next year.
These are all just...
I felt like it was going to be a good move for everybody, but now that I see the life cycle of a lot of these batteries and the underpowered equipment, I'm very hesitant to continue on that path. The RoboMower is not going anywhere. That thing is going to stay, but I'm going to follow up with some gas cuts as much as I feel like, because why not? It's fun. So for all of you purists out there, maybe that's going to be good for you to hear. But you're going to see more and more offerings coming out of Greene County this year to fill in more holes and more specialty items to help deal with one of the biggest things that's happening in our industry, and that is water and drought and basically urban sprawl that's causing these more and more water restrictions in different areas. Aside from that, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video and you stuck with it all the way. I'm looking forward to getting back out on the lawn in 2024, and I'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.